Hi, it's Michelle Greenwell here, and this is the holiday issue of the dance lessons for ExtravaDansa. And I've thought a little bit about what I wanted to try to share with you because I've had a wide range of viewers. I have had dance teachers that I've watched, parents, sometimes I have kids watching, so there's a full range of opportunities that could be here with this dance lesson. My goal through the whole series has been to try to just inspire new ideas, different ways of thinking, and getting people dancing in their homes, and if they can be with their friends, with their friends. So that's my inspiration, and my ideas are just to create new possibilities or something you might not have thought of, or maybe you've already thought of it and you do it a little bit differently. I would love to hear those comments in the comment box when you view the video. So today I wanted to focus on something that has always been a spectacle for me. When I visited New York and got to see Radio City Music Hall and I got to tour to see what the Rockettes did, I was enthralled with the way that extravaganza really comes together throughout the year, because the Rockettes are working all year long. But their Christmas spectacular is something that is historic and something that they're very famous for. So what I have put together are different video clips that I have gone through to find ways to show you how dancers work in the profession, how their day might look, what some of the things are that go behind the scenes in order to put on a spectacle like they have. And then of course, just to be able to see the theater that they get to perform in. And the stage is unbelievable. It has hydraulics that moves the different levels up and down. They can bring in animals. They can have hundreds of people on the stage at one time. It is an unbelievable theater to work in. So I wanted to share that excitement with you because it was something that really kind of stuck with me when I toured Radio City Music Hall. So one of the things that I wanted to share with you is a little bit about the showmanship that happens, and just some ideas that if you're playing at home, how could you play around with it? Or if you are a teacher in a studio, some of the props that I've used over the years just to bring stories to life. So what I'm going to share with you at this moment is the candy cane, because you can find that at the dollar stores and or some of the discount stores. And this has been a staple. One of my dancers was laughing about that because I do bring it out every year and they wait for it. So I just wanted to share with you a couple of ideas that went with this. As a Highland dance teacher, I have put these candy canes on the ground and I've used them as the sword. And that has meant being very careful not to step on the candy cane, but it's a lot more fun to dance over a candy cane than a sword when you're used to being a Highland dancer. So that would be one idea. The other idea is how to manipulate an object and for you to be able to use that object to gain better dance skill. So one of the areas is when we're teaching a chaîné turn, and the chaîné turn, if we're using a ballet style arm, would be open the arms, close the arms, open the arms. But very often as dance teachers, we get to see elbows that want to come down. We get to see hands that collapse. We get to see hands that come into the body. And so with the candy cane, I can focus on how to hold the shoulders in position, how to bring the arms out into a big circle to hold that candy cane out a little bit further, and then create the chaîné turn. Now we're not opening and closing the arms as we're doing that with the feet, but I am able to engage the shoulders and give that feeling of what it feels like when the arms are in the right position. If your candy cane drops, you can see that in a mirror. You can see when you don't match with everybody else, and you'll want to pull it out a little bit further. You also understand, bring the candy cane in close, take the candy cane out. So as you're going through, the opportunity is there for you to really feel what it feels like to go around. Now, if you didn't have a candy cane, you could do a stick. And if you're at home, then you could take a stick and you could wrap it with tape or with ribbon, or you could wrap it with paper, and you could turn it into something that looks like a candy cane. All right, so that would be one idea of what I've used the candy cane for. We have also done it to explore some of the Broadway styles of dancing. So this you can understand from the perspective of very often it's the kick. And the Rockettes are going to show you how to do that in the video clip. So I'm just going to give you a little piece of it. But if I was going to go knee and kick, knee and kick, I can use this candy cane as a measure where I would like to put things. So maybe I've got it down by my belly button. So perhaps we need to match the class so that everybody kicks the same height, and maybe you can hold your candy cane to give you that idea. Perhaps you're trying to get a higher kick and you want to pull your candy cane up so that you can try to kick to that height. That would be another way that you could use it. You can also use it just to demonstrate the balance of the shoulder and the hips. So if you wanted to swing out and swing out, this would provide you with a way to illustrate how you could make that swing. And it might not seem like very much, but this little action for some people can be very difficult, especially if they want to swing their hip out. All right, we also have the Broadway style, put out the cane, cross it in, take it out, and you could do marching, and you add your hands and you add the candy cane. So there's lots of options for you to manipulate this and bring in some ideas of how you might want to take a step and add an accent to it. Now, you know I put gloves on today. That's so you could see my hands better, but also just adding gloves, when you have a whole line of dancers who have gloves on and a prop in their hand, they can visually see a lot more what's happening. With winter gloves, it's easy to just put mitts on and be able to do the same thing if you're at home. All right, so if you were trying to show off some different steps, there are so many options of things that you can do with this prop. And you can tell a story. And of course, shorter people can actually tap it on the floor and have rhythm with it. I gave you a little taste of the Rockettes, and what they would have explained in the videos is that in one show, one 90-minute show, they will do over 300 kicks up over their head, which is what they're famous for. Now, I can't say as I have the greatest flexibility down to my toes anymore, but what I can tell you is a couple little secrets that helps you to get a little bit more stretch down that hamstring at the back and underneath the leg. And this is something I've shared with my dancers, and I thought I would share with you a little bit. So if you wanted to sit down, you could do this seated. And if I come down here and I just measure, reaching my toes as an example, all right? I just know what it feels like behind my knees, how far I can reach to my toes, what the comfort level is, and what my hips and my hamstring up here is also feeling like, because that's usually a little bit tight. So now what you want to do is take your fingers and going on the back of your head, on the bump in the back of your head, you're just going to rub back and forth. And just give a firm rub. And as you do that, just let your body fold down. And I say fold because it's just like it kind of just relaxes and just comes down. Now when I reach down, I'm well past my toes. And I don't have any greater discomfort of pulling that direction. It's easy for me to do that. So that gives me a little bit more flexibility. But there are two other ways that I also can gain more flexibility. So I'm just going to take my fists and I'm going to put them behind my back. And I'm just going to rub all along my lower back and my tailbone. And just rubbing in that space. Just give it a little bit. You could also go up and down the spine. which would be taking 2 fingers on either side of the spine and just rubbing along there as well. And of course, you wouldn't be able to reach the middle of your back. You could use a ball and roll on it, or you could have somebody else massage up. It'll be up and down your spine. You don't want to go sideways, you want to go up and down. After you've done that, see if you can reach a little bit further. And now I'm getting, my fingertips are coming around to the ball of my foot, where I started at the top of my toes, then to my toes, and now I'm to the ball of my foot. So each time I've gained a little bit more. There's one more trick. This is the one that works really the best for me. Taking my fingers, just like I'm wearing earmuffs, I'm just going to take my fingers and put them around my ears. My thumb is going to be kind of in the dimple of my neck to my skull. There's a little soft spot in there. And the rest are just around my ears. I'm just going to hang out. And what I find with this one, it's like the other one, is I'll just start to fold. And in better days, I would be able to get right to the floor. But for now, my fingers now can get well to the ball of my foot. So what I wanted to show you is just how easy it is to just gain that little bit extra flexibility. You will see the ladies show you some exercises they do to help them be strong in the kick as well as flexible. And you may want to practice some of those tools as well. But this will give you an example of how you can have a little bit more flexibility. I wanted to share with you a little bit about the Nutcracker. This is a traditional kind of story that is often seen in the dance world and explored at Christmas time because of ballet and because of the way that stories come together. For this episode, I didn't want to go to the traditional ways that dance studios or teachers might work with the Nutcracker and play with Tchaikovsky's music and explore some of the characters. Those are usually pretty obvious ones. So what I wanted to do was share a couple of other ideas. So I found, which was just released this last week, Debbie Allen's Hot Chocolate Nutcracker. And this has the background of the dress rehearsals, how the kids are prepared for the show, the kinds of kids that are in the show, and just a little bit of the story of Debbie Allen. She has a really interesting life. So I thought you might enjoy that clip. I also put in a clip of a ballet dancer who's learning one portion of one of the routines that is in the Nutcracker. And so it's exciting to watch her learn and practice and try to gain the skills she needs to play the character that she's going to play. So that'll give you another different tidbit. For preschoolers, I absolutely adore Sharon Lois and Bram's Winter Suite. And it is music from the Nutcracker, but they've changed all of the words and it's really quite fun. So it might be a good song to learn to sing, but it also might be a good one to dance to. And if you can dress up in your favorite character from the Nutcracker, you'd be able to explore that. As I talked about in some of the other parts of this lesson, there are lots of ways to develop characters. And in the previous episodes, I did the sabers, and in the Nutcracker, you've got the king of the mice, and you also have the soldiers, and they all have swords and things that they can dance with. So that might be some way that you might want to take some of the choreography in a previous episode, pull it into the music that goes with the Nutcracker and explore that. But you also have the opportunity to celebrate dance from around the world. And that's the best part about when they go to the land of the sweets. So I hope that you take the time to maybe think about some kind of dancing that you might not otherwise notice or be a part of because of where you live. And just by going through some of the videos you can find on YouTube, you may find some dancing forms that interest you more. I did spend a bit of time looking at some belly dancing videos. And I did that because when you put the coin skirt on, it is really exciting to hear the sounds that come out of it. And there's also the dancing where they put the bells around their ankles, but also around their wrists. And so as they're dancing, they're making music at the same time. And that might be something you want to do with Christmas bells. So those are some of the ideas I'm just going to share with you that you can explore. And I'm going to share the links to the different videos that I think you might be interested in. And I hope you enjoy what you see. So now it's time for some of the younger dancers. I wanted to share a little bit of the stories that I have used over the years when it's come time for teaching at Christmas. I like to bring stories in, and I really enjoy building characters, having pantomime, starting to put skits together and helping little people figure out how they could use their body to tell a story. How they could be a character, how they could do actions, how they could act out a Christmas song. One of our favorite things to do on the last dance class day has always been to do skits and make up Christmas stories and try to act out those songs, try to guess. And as much as that's a playtime, it's a really good time for us to really get into character building and what is necessary to tell a good story. So one of my favorite stories, I'm going to bring over closer to you, is The Silent Night for Peef. And this little story, I've told for many, many years. Here's my Peef teddy bear. Little dancers love teddy bears. Now I know with COVID, you can't pass the bear around. However, I have often had them see if they can hear the Peef sound, and little fingers have trouble making the sound. But we can also do that just by me holding the teddy bear and talking about the story. But inside this little storybook, Peef does all kinds of crazy antics. And so as much as I can do Santa and the elves, I can also explore, I'll just bring it a little bit further. He talks about he does have scratches on him. He is dirty. He does have a tear, and that's because he's had so much fun playing. He didn't just try to sit and look pretty. He actually was a bear that was very active, and that's a good story to talk about. But things like building a tree house, playing in the mud, rowing in a boat. Then I can take music that has to do with those ideas, and I can bring the story to life by going to each of these pieces and getting the children to act it out and create a dance around it. So playing in the mud, there is a song called Mud Is My Bud, which is great for stomping, rhythm building, splashing, and if we're lucky enough to have rain, which in Nova Scotia we do, we can actually go out to a puddle and we can create rhythms and have some fun dancing outside, which is great. And then if we have something like the rowboat, then you have the actions that you can put in there, but it also creates some coordination issue things you can play with, and rowing one hand to the other. So if you're in a kayak or a canoe, as opposed to in a rowboat where you're going to put both hands together, you can play around with some different movement options that gets children thinking about how they can move. So I'm just going to expand this a little bit more, because it also has when he becomes a knight and then a sword. And you've seen in some of my other lesson plans that we've done, I did a whole thing on the saber. There is a lot you can do with that. And again, you could choose a candy cane. I'm looking over to my candy canes here on the side, but you could choose a candy cane. The other thing is, there are lots of songs about dragons. One of my favorite is, I'm off to hunt a dragon. And so when it comes up in the storybook, I can pull that children's music out and I can create the make-believe part of that whole section. And when you're off to hunt that dragon, you have to be quiet and walk on your tiptoes. And when you see the dragon and you think you're not going to be scared, what happens if you are scared? And then how can you react and how can you help yourself when you are scared? So those are some of the things that I've been able to do through the book. The teddy goes to school, he jumps in leaves, he has a picnic, he hides in a box. There are just so many options of what you can do. So A Silent Night for Peef, which is written by Tom Hegg and illustrated by Warren Hansen, is one of my favorite books. I hope you enjoy it too. Let's talk a little bit about one of the stories that has captured our imagination with a big movie, and that is The Polar Express. Now, The Polar Express was a gift to me, and my children grew up with this story, and we read it every Christmas on Christmas Eve. My greatest excitement is I did a podcast a couple weeks ago with Rhonda Gilry, who has a dance studio in Stettler, Alberta, where she has taken the story and brought it to life on a steam train for real. And she gets to go to the North Pole with a Christmas celebration. They do many, many shows across the Christmas season. Unfortunately, COVID has them restricted this year, so that's not happening. But you do have the podcast, Be Well with Michelle Greenwell, if you'd like to go and check out her story about what dancers have done and the power of the magic of the story that has come through in her experience. But what I'm going to share with you at the moment is I have some cards that came in another book about the Polar Express, where I can actually shine a light through and it will put the train up on the wall. So on my studio wall, in my big studio, then I would be able to shine the train and then I could bring the story to life that way. I could also add, because it's nighttime, gloves and black lights. So I could have the dancers doing some dances in the black lights with things like white gloves. Now, the thing about the Polar Express is that you have a train, and there is a beautiful song on Dan Devian's music that you can find, which takes you on a ride, actually on a roller coaster, but it works beautifully for the train because the roller coaster goes up and down, same as this train goes up to the North Pole. And that has been a favorite for dancers, falling to the ground, lining the dancers up with all of their feet spread out, and then lifting feet side to side, doing a whole choreography that's on the floor in a line. Now, it may not be so conducive in COVID times in your studio this year, but certainly families would be able to do that at home with their kids and just pretend a roller coaster ride. So now when I do the stories, I always act out the parts. So we have the little boy asleep in his bed. He goes to the window, he sneaks down the stairs and goes out the front door. Now that is great pantomime acting that we can put in there. You can have putting on pajamas, getting ready for bed. You can have what it's like to look out the window and see a train in your front yard. And then we have the role of the conductor to get onto the train, and the idea of in your dreams, anything is possible. So you could get on the train and you could go. And then we have the beautiful Hot Chocolate song, which has always been a way for me to do rhythm and to play with the tap music. And even if I have dancers that are not tappers, just being able to bring that footwork alive for them and see what has happened is always a great thing. So the Polar Express, as it walks through all the way to the end with Santa Claus and the bell, has been a wonderful way for me to bring some magic alive in some different characters. I've been able to do elves in the toy shop building toys, what it would be like to be Santa Claus and give that first gift of Christmas. Then there's also just being on a train. What kinds of things can you do on a train? What would you see? What would you see outside? And in the story, they have the wolves. So you could see owls, deer, moose, bear. There's all kinds of things that might be out there that you could talk about and you could play act with. So if you're a dance parent and you're at home with your children, you might be able to bring the story to life rather than just read it. You could see what the creativity of your children happens to be. And if you're a dance studio owner, this is a great way to just get that magic, get the bells going, have some fun with it and see what you can do. And the bells are a great Christmas present to send home. Do you hear the bells? So I invite you to enjoy the Polar Express, have a listen to the podcast. And on Dance Debut's Facebook page, I have also posted the story of a family that did take that train ride and what it was like for them to be on the Polar Express. And that might be something that would be fun for you to include as well. Enjoy. Now I would like to tell you about gingerbread. This could be a way to celebrate in many ways, actually. So if you were a studio owner or a dance teacher and you needed to tell a story about gingerbread, you might have coloring pages of a gingerbread cookie, and they could decorate those coloring pages. I often sent coloring pages home with my dancers. I like to do that instead of any kind of candy. So it was often coloring pages or games that they could play on a page or stickers, which I'm sure you do too. And what I would like to talk about with the gingerbread man is I have written a story called The Gingerbread Cookie. And in this one, the gingerbread cookie comes to life because of the magic that Mrs. Claus can put into the cookie. And when she puts the magic in, everybody can start to dance after they've eaten the cookie. So the elves are part of the story, and also making cookies and being in Mrs. Claus's kitchen is there. And then at the end is the big super party that you can have. So there are a lot of ways that you could bring to life a story. Now, I don't have coloring pages or pictures for them to look at that flow with the story, but I was able to bring the story to life just by telling it. And as the dancers were maybe asleep, waiting for Mrs. Claus to call them down for dinner, then they would be asleep and have to wake up, or maybe they have to get dressed, brush their teeth, comb their hair, all those pantomime things that you can add into a story. I invite you to think about the creativity that you can have to just create a story. And if you are with the time to have children help you create the story, you can have them lead you through some of the things that are important in their life that might, if you go to make your cookie, they want to put icing on it, they want to decorate it with different bauble pieces. There's just so many little details that they would be able to bring in for you, which helps them to find detail in what they're looking at, exactness in movement and actions. So it might be when you're cooking, how to crack open an egg, how to go to the fridge to take the milk out to pour into the bowl. Simple things like that, which you wouldn't think about, but are important when you're doing pantomime to make it look like it's real. And so I've noticed in this last bit, because a lot of the imagery for children is coming through on a visual on a screen, they wait for the visual, or the only way they know how to do it is to talk it through. So this is a really important skill to develop with kids. How do you use your body to show something and act it out and be a part of it? And that may help them with expressing themselves and making sure that they're heard in what they want to say, because they'll know how to move and participate in conversation rather than participating in a conversation that's through their thumbs. So I invite you to use your imagination to create a story. The gingerbread cookie story is up on Dance Debut's website. You can go it's www.dancedebut.com, and you can go into the resources, articles, and you'll find the story there. And if you want to just read off that story, you're welcome to do that. Otherwise, create something that works for you. I always have a puppet or some kind of stuffy, something that's tangible for kids to play with, because it's really important for them to see and become a part of it. So enjoy your storytelling. I look forward to stories that might get posted on the comments after you've seen the video. Thanks so much. Thank you so much for being a part of ExtravaDansa for 2020. It has been a delight for me to create all of these lessons and to share them with you, and to try to think outside the box, other ways that I could do things, other ways that I could share. So as you go into the Christmas season, I wish you the very best in health and in time with family and friends, even if it's on Zoom. And for 2021, may the best present itself for all that we have endured in 2020. Thank you so much for watching, and have a wonderful holiday season and Happy New Year. Welcome to the Year of the Ox 2021. All the best.